thought it my duty to exhibit things as they are, not as they ought to be. This quote from Alexander Hamilton reveals what he did most, never sugarcoating any topic. He would tell people directly what he thought, and wrote down most anything he thought of others. Even Hamilton's worst mistakes were written down on paper.
Alexander Hamilton's childhood was rough, but the fight was just the beginning. Rachel Fawcett Lavian was Alex's mother. She was a descendant of British and French Huguenot. Alex's father, James Hamilton, was a Scottish trader. Alexander's parents came from very different places, his mother being British and French, and his father being Scottish. Alexander Hamilton was born on January 11th, whether in 1755 or 1757. He was the second son to James and Rachel Hamilton, with his brother being named James. After Alex was born, his dad was asked to work in St. Croix to gather money from a man who was in debt. They moved there. About a year after arriving, the Hamiltons woke up to find James, the father, missing. He had left with the money. Rachel bought a shop and died from the plague. He moved in with cousin Peter Lytton, who, shortly after, committed suicide.
America was the place where Hamilton went to college in 1773. Hamilton arrived in America and enlisted in a college. Hamilton was ready to have a new life in America, starting by going to King's College.
Hercules Mulligan was the first person and first friend that Alexander met. Hercules worked at a tailor shop. His family had come to the new land from the small country of Ireland. His family lived in an upstairs home right above the shop. Hamilton was blessed to have a friend nearly right after he had entered the country. Hamilton made friends with Hercules Mulligan, who was a very outgoing person and was extremely friendly to him. Hamilton ended up friends with a few more people: Gilbert du Motier, Marquis de Lafayette, Aaron Burr, and many others.
Hamilton earned the place as Secretary of Treasury, which he earned $3,500. This position had to be a great honor for Hamilton because the position was new to the plate of positions. Alexander, later in the war, married his pride and joy, Elizabeth Schuyler, who was the child of an authoritative Philip Schuyler. She came from a rich family, quite the opposite of Hamilton's family.
In 1791, during the summer on a nice sunny day, a young woman who went by the name of Maria Reynolds walked up to Hamilton's door and introduced herself. She explained to Alex that she was having a terrible time with her husband. He had been doing her wrong, he had beaten her, he had been cheating on her, and overall mistreating her. Hamilton decided to pay her and have an affair with her. He then proceeded to pay her husband to keep it a secret. Alexander didn't always make the best decisions. He once had an affair with a married woman. This was right after his son died, however, so he was in great grief. Eliza was visiting her father upstate. Most of the meetings happened in Alex's house. A long while after the affair had ended, someone posted the story in the paper. Hamilton then thought it brilliant to post a 95-page essay confirming the whole affair with details on the blackmail. He also put in a personal letter sent to Maria to prove everything he had written.
A colleague of Aaron Burr's and Alexander Hamilton's first son got in a large argument. They challenged each other to a duel in New Jersey. Philip shot towards the sky, but the other man shot Philip, and he was dead not long after. Hamilton's firstborn son, Philip, died. Hamilton lost so much during the Revolution, but because of some of them, he also gained knowledge of what to do in the future.
Alex didn't always make excellent choices, but this time his actions were taken too far. The fourth presidential election was in 1800. It was between Aaron Burr and Thomas Jefferson, who were both Republicans. Hamilton voted for Jefferson, and this infuriated Burr. Hamilton made some not-so-smart decisions, and he went against Burr during the election of 1800. This is quite controversial, however, because many people could agree that Burr didn't really have beliefs. He went for whatever would build his reputation and give him money. He posted a very negative article in the newspaper. This is most likely one of the main reasons that Hamilton and Burr dueled, mainly looking from Burr's point of view. Hamilton offered some new policies that launched the ability to receive payment of war money. The government was supposedly accusing state of being in debt. So they put in a federal system that would collect tax, therefore helping the U.S. to put in credit. Hamilton is one of the ones who implemented our financial system that is still in use today.
Our thoughts of the Founding Fathers are these great men, but in real life they made rude insults and threats to each other. The duel happened because of these treacherous comments and actions. The treacherous comments and reactions of the people involved were terribly rude and uncalled for. The duel was started because of events like this. The Founding Fathers were not as happy and kind as everyone always imagines them.
Alex's wife, Eliza, never dared to let anyone to forget her beloved husband. Eliza opened the first private orphanage in New York. Alexander Hamilton was and still is a very influential character in our society. He has implemented so many great accomplishments that people still use to this day. He gave everyone a fantastic financial system. He wrote so many great letters and books that have generally inspired many people and have been passed down. There are websites, TV shows, and a musical based alone on Alex. He has had such a positive impact on our society and has taught them that people can do anything and that writing isn't such a terrible process after all.
Was a New York delegate to the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. There he fought to replace the flawed Articles of Confederation with a constitution that guaranteed a strong central government.
He was actually the architect and author of the majority of what became known as the Federalist Papers, 85 different articles published in newspapers that were designed to convince the states to ratify the U.S. Constitution.
When George Washington was elected America's first president in 1789, he tapped Alexander Hamilton to be the first Secretary of the Treasury.
Alexander Hamilton designed the Treasury Department. He believed that it was the role of the federal government to collect and disperse money. At the same time, he was fervent about paying down the national debt.
Hamilton laid out a plan for how a national economy could actually emerge at a time when many people didn't know how it could possibly work.
In 1795, Hamilton stepped down as Secretary of the Treasury, leaving behind a more secure U.S. economy. Hamilton returned to his law practice, but remained involved in politics. His support of Thomas Jefferson in the heated 1800 presidential election secured Jefferson's victory over Aaron Burr. For Burr, this marked the first of many perceived slights by Hamilton.
On July 11, 1804, Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr met on the dueling grounds of Weehawken, New Jersey, which was really the end of a long-standing political feud and personal feud between these two men.
Hamilton didn't shoot at him, basically said, "This is ridiculous, I'm just going to shoot in the air." And then Burr levels his gun and shoots at him. It makes Burr seem like a lesser man.
Alexander Hamilton died the next day in New York City on July 12, 1804. Today, he is remembered for establishing the federal principles of national government and is the face of the